Hey there, and welcome to Portia, Raw and Real. This is the podcast that takes us a little bit deeper after the conversation that you saw on Portia. Thanks so much for watching the show, by the way. But here on Raw and Real, we get to cover some things maybe we didn't get a chance to unpack during the show. And listen, today we're talking about shoes and feet and getting to the soul of taking better care of our feet. Our guest is Dr. Ebonie Vincent. You have seen her on TLC, the show My Feet Are Killing Me. Welcome to the podcast.
The after show, right?
To the after show, right? The after party, after show, all of it is happening right here. What a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We appreciate you coming to Atlanta, your practice, and Long Beach, and the city of Orange, California.
Yes.
But I love the work that you do as an advocate for taking care of our feet, particularly women.
Yes.
Before we talk about foot care, how did you end up in this line of business? Because you are a student athlete, college athlete, right?
Correct. Yep. So I was a student athlete, always wanted to be in medicine, and knew I wanted to do sports medicine. I was thinking more so on the orthopedic side, just being an orthopedic doctor, you know, not really knowing all of what that entailed.
Right.
So by the time I graduated from Hampton and did my master's program at Philadelphia College.
I'll go ahead and give it to you, HU.
All right.
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you, Hampton. Love Hampton.
Yeah.
So you decided then from there.
From there, yeah, after I did a whole bunch of shadowing, podiatry kind of found me in the sense where I was like, this is much better. Like, I can be a surgeon. I can also eventually have time for marriage and kids and all those things.
And we should point out, you got married, just had a baby a few months ago. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so that part of it is working as well, right? That whole work-life balance that women are always, and men, right? But for us, this can be sometimes a challenge trying to manage that. So that's happening.
It's definitely happening.
That's good.
As a woman, I feel like, you know, being able to be a partner in the practice and have ownership, it makes me have more autonomy.
And you've gone back to work. I mean, this baby's brand new. So
this
you've gone back
brand new.
and managing well.
Managing well.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
That's good. That's good. I'm excited for you. So in your practice, you see all kinds of issues, right? Let's talk about some of the issues that come up most. What are the biggest problems that you see with women?
So women, for sure, have a lot of plantar fasciitis.
And let's talk, fortunately, you brought a little
I brought my little
model for us.
Foot model, which has its little examples of what the plantar fascia is. So it's like the bottom of the foot. You have basically 3 bands of the plantar fascia. So there's like the lateral, the intermediate, and the medial band. Okay. The medial band is usually the one that hurts the most because it gets the most tug on that arch.
Okay.
What happens is, let's say you start a new workout routine, or you have really bad shoes that you wear one day. This plantar fascia.
Because let's be clear, some bad shoes will mess you all up, right? You wear some bad shoes for a few months.
A few hours.
A few
it can
hours.
mess you up, you know?
Right.
Like it doesn't take that much if all of your body weight is pushed onto one foot without the proper support for a period of time.
My girlfriends give me a hard time for wearing a lot of cheap shoes. And they're like, it's going to catch up with you. And now I'm like, okay, maybe there was something to that. They're right. Doesn't mean it have to be a $1,000 pair of heels, but you got to get somewhere
in between. You know, you want to be able to do what you can do.
Gotcha. But I digress. Go ahead. You're talking about some of the issues that you see with your female patients in particular.
It's okay. Essentially, what happens is this band of tissue swells. Okay. And every time you sit down or you sleep, you go to bed at night. This band of tissue coils up in a ball, and then you put your pressure on it first steps in the morning, it micro tears. And that's why you're like, to the bathroom in the morning.
Yeah.
So most people say, like, after periods of rest or first thing in the morning is when that hurts the most. And so after a while, they like loosen up the band of tissue.
So what do you tell your patients to do? Like, just, stretch your feet a little bit? They say we're supposed to be stretching when we get out of bed now anyway.
Exactly.
Welcome to 50. You're not there yet. But apparently that helps, right?
It does help. But the name of the game is to get the swelling out and then to keep it out. So it's hard to get a good stretch on the bottom of your foot that you can feel.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where most of the time you're stretching your foot, you're actually feeling it in your calf muscle. Because like when you're dorsiflexing your foot, you're feeling that pull of the Achilles tendon. This is my example of my Achilles.
Yeah.
And then that's attached to your calf muscle. So when you're like dorsiflexing your foot, it stretches the Achilles. It's also stretching the plantar fascia, and it's loosening up these tight bands of tissue.
I gotcha. What else do you see? I have to imagine a lot of bunions. And I gotta imagine a whole lot of corns if we're just
tons of calluses, tons of corns, tons of bunions.
How much are we playing a role in those issues?
So we're playing a
versus
significant
what's
role.
Genetic?
Well, bunions are genetic. They're made worse by the types of shoes and activities that we do.
Give me an example.
For instance, if you wear heels every day.
Yeah.
And you're squeezing your toes into a triangle.
Yeah.
And you're pressing your joints this way. Do you kind of see how
that is what's happening? That's why this pinky toe is a hot mess right now, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
And you see this kind of coming over, and then this toe or this metatarsal goes out. That's the bump that you see with the bunion. Yeah. So eventually this metatarsal is hanging out on the side of your foot. The 4 of these metatarsals are the only ones kind of giving you that balance, and they're not designed to do so. So then you have hammer toes, the second toe crosses over, and you're like making wishes on your toes. It's just a hot mess because essentially your biomechanics are off. Like the way that you're distributing your weight is not even. So you can help yourself by wearing shoes that evenly distribute your weight, have, instead of like a triangle, maybe do like a little wider toe box heel to kind of have your toes sitting a little bit better.
And does the thicker heel really make that much of a difference? Because I started doing a thicker heel and a wider base.
Yeah, so those are very helpful in the sense where they can put a little bit more pressure on the heel, whereas opposed if it's a skinnier heel, you put less.
Yeah, you're just looking like a newborn giraffe at that point.
If you have like a platform heel, it kind of lifts up where you would be more plantar flex, you'd be more a little bit.
So you prefer that if we're going to do it.
If you're going to do it, yeah.
Give
these are the
yourself
things to kind of look out for. Don't wear 6 inches, maybe wear 4.
Okay.
Maybe 3.
Yeah. And that's no matter the age, right? I mean, it's hard to tell a 20-something.
It's hard to tell a 70-something who's
you're right.
Who's been in heels forever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not wearing those.
I'm not doing
shoes.
those. So I love. I mean, you just hearing you. You know your stuff, but you also make it really interesting. And so you took this content to social media.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of caught the attention of folks. Like what? Where did it start? Like I didn't have a chance to go back and look at what was the first post that caught everybody's attention.
I wasn't trying to make it cool. I mean, I don't know. Feet are. That's a hard sell.
Right.
At making it cool.
Right.
But I do think it's important. It's one of those areas of science and medicine that I think has oftentimes gotten neglected. But it's the first thing that your cardiologist might tell you is, hey, you need to exercise. And if you can't exercise because your foot hurts, what are you going to do? Like, are we going to go just, go work out anyway?
Right,
you need
the feet are going to be a big part of that. And I guess I'd make the case too, like, I feel like podiatrists, dentists, there's some specialists that people are just like, I'm not spending all that money on that because I'll be fine until you're not
fine. Yeah.
Do you find yourself having to sort of make the case, listen, this is important. We're asking our feet to do a lot here.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though, because that does happen. You see these people in this dire state as opposed to something that if they had come earlier, things could have been prevented, things could have been a lot better. Instead of having a full-on surgery, you could have had an insert. You could have just had more support for years and never had to have surgical procedure and go through all of that.
And don't let me forget, I want to get to inserts and how you say what some people are doing wrong. But before we do that, though, I wanted to finish this thought, though, about how your content caught the attention of people who then said, this lady's really interesting. Tell us how we got to My Feet Are Killing Me.
Yeah, so I started off working as an independent contractor right after residency. During residency, I did a lot of social media, mostly like as an online journal, so to speak.
Okay.
I found residency to kind of be a lonely place. I was always on call, always in the hospital. And I was like, I need friends and I'm always working. So social media became my, hey guys, this is what I'm doing today, you know? And it started to gain me a lot of followers and people would ask questions about their feet. And I was like, this is kind of, I guess people don't know, you know? So when I started off as an independent contractor, I continued that social media presence because I was like, okay, guys, if you really want to know about feet and you have questions, come see me at my office.
Right.
And so that caught the attention.
I'm not doing all these consultations here online,
free.
And I haven't even had a chance to do an X-ray. That makes sense. That makes sense just from a professional standpoint.
Exactly. Yeah. So unbeknownst to me, there was a production company already in the works interviewing other podiatrists for this show that they had. In the works. This was the brainchild of Eugene Young. He's a wonderful person and very creative. So he's the one that reached out. I thought it was a joke at first.
Did he slide into the DM type of thing
or email? He slid into my office manager's email.
Okay.
And she was like, I don't know if this is real, but if it's real, you might want to respond and see what's up, you know?
And the rest, as they say, is history. Very successful show, and it's a lot of fun educating people about something that most folks don't want to talk about. I want to get back to this concept of the different type of arches.
Yes.
Because I think most people are either flat-footed and slapping around the kitchen floor all the time, or you've got a little bit of an arch and a kind of a dainty foot. But you say there's a whole lot in between.
So yeah, they're going to have variations of 3 different types. There's going to be the people who have the flat feet. Sometimes it's more like in the hind foot, like the heel is kind of sliding out, and then like your whole foot is kind of flat on the ground, and that's when you have just more of an imprint, like a big arch as the imprint on your foot. Other people's have quite the opposite, where you're so lifted and you're like kind of walking on a tripod. You know? So you don't really have a lot of support from the arch at all. And some people fall anywhere in between, but if you have a pretty decent arch, which hopefully most people find comfortable, you're gonna see your footprint with just that slight area of the arch.
That's the water on the paper test, right?
Yeah, if the water on the paper test. Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah.
So let's talk now about what people are doing right and wrong with these inserts. Because you say you're not against over-the-counter inserts. We should say that. You're not saying everybody needs to go get
I'm not saying everybody needs a custom insert.
But what are people doing right and wrong when it comes to picking them out?
So when you're picking out an insert, usually people are looking for either more support or more cushion.
Okay.
I'm a proponent of a little bit of both.
Okay.
When you're looking for just cushion, you are on borrowed time, in my opinion. Like you are going to get so much out of that cushion until you need more support, and then you have to sit down.
Right.
So the arch supports that I recommend for my patients are going to be harder in the arch area.
Okay.
So they're where your weight is pushing you down, the arch is lifting your arches up.
Okay.
So they are a little bit harder to get used to. Sometimes when people go and they buy those harder inserts and they're putting them in their shoes for 8 hours, they come back like, ooh, this hurts.
Is too much. And then you're saying, too, it's important to take the insert out of the shoe, and you're not just adding it. Like
if you buy a tennis shoe, you have to take this portion out that it comes with and put the more sturdy insert in.
Are people surprised to hear that?
I guess so. Like a lot of people don't understand that, and so they put it over or underneath.
I put it over, and I was like, this is really uncomfortable. I'm not doing this.
What happens is it's too high, and then your heel just kind of lifts up out of it, and so you don't. You don't like it, essentially. So you do have to have a break-in period of the inserts. You have to kind of wear them for an hour, take them out, see how you feel the next day, wear them for 2 hours, kind of building up your tolerance to having more support.
I gotcha.
So that's one thing. And then just making sure that the insert marries a good shoe. You can't like put the insert,
the big athletic one,
into like a flat shoe that has no support, because then you're only going to be on borrowed time again.
Gotcha.
So it's definitely one of those things where you have to know what type of feet you have, know what kind of activities you have, and know what type of shoe you need to prevent any of those issues that can
Which is why at some point, sometimes it really is important to just go ahead and get the consultation, have a conversation with a podiatrist.
It can only help you.
Yeah. It's not that it's that. And if anybody starts saying, "Oh, we got to start cutting," then you're like, no. It's not always going to turn into a surgery.
No. Like my whole thing with surgery is you need surgery if it hurts. You need surgery if it's preventing you from doing your daily activities. You need surgery if we've tried all of the conservative options. If none of that's working, you're still miserable, and you'd like to undergo this surgery, undergo the rehab in order to eventually be on the other side of things.
Because it seems like folks who've had foot surgery, this is going to be a minute. Seems like it takes a bit. It takes a bit out of you, right?
It takes a bit out of you.
But something else I know is really important to you, your passion for diabetic care and conversations about diabetes.
Yes. So that's pretty prominent in the African American community. And I can't tell you how many times I have a patient that says, well, I'm diabetic now. It was bound to happen. It's genetic. I can't help it. My dad had diabetes. My grandma had diabetes. Everybody in my family has diabetes.
Yeah.
And it's type 2 diabetes, which is not a genetic disposition habit. You can have genetic factors that make you more prone to having diabetes, but that's something that you build up over time.
Okay.
If you have a poor diet, if your sugar levels are built up to the point where on average your body's insulin that it makes cannot handle the sugar that you're putting into it, you are now type 2 diabetic. What's the remedy? Eat less sugar so your body's insulin can handle it to eat it all up.
Yeah.
And then therefore you don't have to be type 2 diabetic. Diabetes is a disease that literally affects every system.
Yeah.
It affects your eyes and your feet first.
Right.
So every time that I'm seeing a patient and they're like, I don't know why I'm here. My family medicine doctor told me I needed a podiatrist.
Right. And I think of, especially with older generations of Black folks who didn't have access to, good health care. I think of how many of my granduncles had to have, full amputations.
Yep, exactly.
And it always started, it's a toe here, then it's the foot, and then it's a leg, and then it's at the knee because of diabetes, and that's why this is so important for podiatrists
it's very
to talk
important.
about this.
I mean, it's all about education, right? Like, you don't know what you don't know until things bad happen.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, it's like, I know nothing's wrong now, but you want to have a relationship with your podiatrist, have their office on speed dial.
Wow.
If something happens,
I'm so embarrassed to admit, I don't even have one. I just.
Well, maybe you're not neuropathic. You don't have diabetes.
Okay.
Like
so
those kinds of people who have issues definitely want to have an established relationship.
Yeah.
Because if you ever find that you have a wound on your foot, if you have an ingrowing toenail, like you're gonna
treatment of that is going to be very different for someone who doesn't have some underlying health issues.
And the healing is going to be longer.
Yeah.
And you're more susceptible to infection. Like there's a whole lot of things.
In the last couple of minutes we have, I just kind of want to do just sort of a lightning round of what can we really fix and just let it go.
Okay.
These corns that look like I have been in an MMA match for years. Is there anything really over the counter that's really going to break those down, or do I just have to stop wearing all the shoes where the knuckles and the toe is going into the corner?
Yeah, so I mean, you've seen the things over the counters.
Yeah.
I told you they have like salicylic acid in them sometimes, so you have to be careful. It's not just a cushion. Sometimes it's eroding away your skin. I'm a proponent of urea cream. You can get that over the counter.
Okay, urea cream.
Urea cream.
Spell that for folks.
UREA.
Okay.
And yes, it's chemical contents that you might find in urine.
That's what you were walking me into. I was trying to moonwalk back out of it, but I knew that's where you were going.
That's where I was going, but it does break down the harder skin, but at a more safe level than say an actual acid.
And is that a permanent fix, or if you just keep going back to the bad shoes?
It's a maintenance if you keep going to the bad shoes. It will make the calluses less. But you will still have those pressure points. Like, say, for instance, you're the person with the high arches. Most of them have painful calluses here, here, and here.
Gotcha.
If you're a person with corns, you're going to have them on the tops of your toes. So you have to be mindful that if you keep shoving your foot into bad shoes with the friction, you're still going to have corns.
I can't wear sandals here. What am I going to do, Doc? What am I going to do? It's so frustrating. Okay, one more question. So the heel care, right?
Yeah.
It's not hurting, but it just seems like, is it the older we get, it's just harder to keep your heels and the bottom of your soles smooth?
So
what is that?
Well,
or is it just me?
It's not just you.
Okay.
As we age, the fat pads in our feet get lesser.
Okay.
So the amount of cushion that we have naturally on our feet diminishes. And so therefore you're going to probably have more of
So
your
it's like
body.
the elasticity of your skin, except it's your Feet. So I got to manage this in just every direction?
Every direction.
Okay.
As I'm saying, you're right. Like, feet are very important.
They are. They are. They are. Listen, I want you to tell folks where they can find you in California, but online just to follow your content, because obviously you share some really great advice. You don't have to come into the practice for everything. You share some good advice.
Thank you. You know, I'm based out of California. I have several offices with my group, OC Podiatry. You can find me at the offices located in Orange, California, and Long Beach, California. Okay. And then on social media, I'm everywhere. On Instagram is where I'm most active. You can find me at dr.ebonie. You spell my name Ebonie. And then I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter. I'm also on
TikTok too?
TikTok
I have to imagine you do very well on TikTok.
I don't do well on TikTok.
I don't know who...
cannot do the...
I can't do all that editing. Right, yeah, we're not doing all that. But I tell you what, the information is good, and we appreciate your care for women and taking care of the soul of the matter. So thank you so much. Great information.
Yeah.
That is really good, really good. All right. We thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Portia, Raw and Real. If you haven't had a chance yet, go check out that episode with Dr. Ebonie Vincent. Go to portiashow.com and be sure to watch every day. It streams every evening on Fox Soul. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.